Welcome, young and old, to the greatest escape room talk show. I'm Tone. This is Puzzle Talk. Welcome to another week, and with me this week is Christina.
Yep.
Christina just, as you can see by the lid on her viewpoint, is just having her coffee. So it might take a moment for Christina to be ready for the show. But we're here, and we're ready to talk escape room industry and immersive content. As always, this is actually going to be the final Morristown episode of Puzzle Talk.
Oh.
We're moving Puzzle Talk to our Poconos location because we're going to be heading up broadcast out of there with Michael Parada taking over on broadcast. He wrote today's episode that we're going through and all the topics, but he'll be taking over on all of the broadcast elements for Trapdoor Escape Stream. So, and what's even better is I don't have to change nameplates because we're exchanging Mike for Mike. Morristown Mike isn't going anywhere, but he won't be in the Poconos, so he won't be on those episodes. If you're wondering where Mike is today, he is downstairs at this very moment shooting exorcisms. I don't know if you heard that on the mic.
Couldn't have timed that better.
Yeah. For what? Wouldn't you like to know? Actually, it's for Ravenguild, but spoiler
Ruined
alert.
the secret.
Yeah, there's an exorcism in Ravenguild. So let's get on inward to the show. As always, join us in the chat room. We would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on some of these topics, as well as if there's something you want us to talk about. Jump in there and let us know, and we'll talk about it live on the show, right?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Well, what's our first topic? Well, this is one that we had on the list ahead of time, so this wasn't part of Mike Parada's outline, but under construction. It's going to be really fun doing this episode with that in the background. Under construction escape rooms, is it safe to participate and go in? Now, here's what we mean by that. Trapdoor is actually in the massive minority of escape room companies where typically our locations have one theme to a location because our themes are so enormous. However, our Morristown location has always had two plus puzzles and corks. Because the Morristown location is almost 8,000 square feet. So as a result, we have currently, we used to have F5 and Witch Hunt, and at that time we were thinking about doing 3 games for where Freak Show was going to go. And then we decided Freak Show was going to be in the new supersized model. So Freak Show took up F5 plus another 1,000 square feet behind it. So we have Freak Show, and we currently have Witch Hunt, which ends at the end of the year. So in Morristown, that's really the only location where this is an issue. But what we're kind of getting to is something that would be more relevant to escape room companies that have multiple games in a location. Witch Hunt was open during the Freak Show build. So that meant, I don't know if that's even picking up on the mic, but yeah, it's hilarious for us. But that meant that customers who were coming in to play Witch Hunt would experience our lobby kind of in a bit of disarray because we had, stuff out that were props and things going into there. It comes through for us too. Great background noise. Great. So it's actually someone's downstairs having a baby. It has nothing to do with Ravenguild. It's crowning. So, is it safe to let people in during a build out like that? The image that's shown, right up here to my, where is it? Over there? No. Yeah, there we go. Over there. Please pardon our dust as we recreate this area for your future immersion. That's the sign hanging in our lobby because we're currently renovating our lobby. Last week we did our bathroom in Morristown, and now we're doing the whole rest of the lobby. So we put this sign up so people know when they walk in, if things are in a little bit of disarray, that this is temporary and it's for their future immersion, not for us just leaving a mess. But very important is making sure that tools that are dangerous to the players are not left out. That even though you might have construction elements, that there is nothing truly dirty. It doesn't mean you have an excuse to let the rugs go unvacuumed or the floors unmopped and so forth and so forth. You still keep the place clean, and just make sure that everything's as pristine as possible, even though you might still have to have some things out that normally wouldn't be seen. So that's our opinion on that, and it was something that was brought up a couple times on social media to talk about, so we did. So what's our first topic, Christina?
Another educational escape room. University of Maryland has set up an escape room on their campus for students and staff.
We're seeing a lot of these.
Yes.
I would say that weekly there's a story, and we don't always include them because it's like we don't want to talk about educational escape rooms literally every episode, but literally every week there's more news stories about educational escape rooms. You could kind of see the concept. It's very, like right by the photo, it's very basic. And obviously very low budget, because, appropriate funding never goes to schools anymore. I said it. We're failing our kids. School systems need to be improved. I know some of our viewers are teachers. We need to work on this. You have Trapdoor support. We support you. End rant. So, a lot of times, as we've talked about in prior episodes, these are a lot of paper, printout, cutout, puzzle, stuff like that. Posters and things like that around the rooms and so forth. And a little bit of minor decor. It's a way to make learning fun. And we very much agree with that aspect. As we have bullet pointed, Puzzles and Kids is a new program we offer where one, we can bring games out to schools, but two, if people are playing with us, there's definitely a very big difference in how different ages can approach these things. And one of the things we always talk about with parents is the fact that they'll call up and they'll say, can we bring our 7-year-old? If the content's not horror, then most likely there's no reason why you can't bring them other than the fact that there's not going to be much for them to participate in. Because escape rooms are designed for adults. Now, what is complicated and a more critical thinking puzzle for an adult is going to be impossible for a child. It's just an element of how these things are designed. You can't design for both demographics. It's just not doable. So with our content, we're designing mostly for, I guess late teens through adults. And that content is not necessarily going to be applicable to children. So Puzzles and Kids, we send a guide in. Somebody that will literally take them through the experience and help them and educate them through the process so that they can understand the fundamentals of what they're trying to solve and how to do it. That guide is in character, so it also helps with that and keeps it fresh and entertaining and fun. It really is like guiding them through problem-solving techniques. I do think at that point, you can have a lot more fun with it, and adults and kids could have fun together. The one thing I always kind of push is never group them together. You don't want 40-year-olds playing with 7-year-olds. It's going to ruin the experience for both parties. So, you got to have a way of privatizing these events too. But there's no doubt, whether it's educational for learning new tasks such as math or social studies or history or whatnot, versus like last week we talked about educating kids against vaping. They're being used all across the board for different stuff to this effect. So, we're all for it. What's next?
Do escape rooms have to be big to be good? So this is focusing on an escape room that opened up with that features around a coffin, and and one player is trapped inside the coffin, the other is on the outside, and they have to solve a series of puzzles to get the person out of the coffin. And so it kind of has to do with, is this still a good escape room? Can it be big and still be a good escape room? Can it be small and still be a good escape room? What's the what on that?
I love the bullet point. Is it really just for the selfie?
Yes.
No, I don't think escape rooms are just for the selfie. I don't think people are going and spending that kind of money and that kind of time just to be able to, at the end, hold up a "We Did It" sign so their friends see it online and are like,
the same time,
"Oh, John and Martha were able to beat an escape room. They must be smart."
At the same time, we heard about that girl who went through Witch Hunt and was trying to look up all the answers beforehand. She couldn't find them because we don't post our answers online, but...
And we have alerts set up for if anyone does, and this is not a call to action, but in the years we've been operating as Trapdoor, so since 2015, no one has ever spoiled any of the games. One person tried to spoil things in a bad review of us, and they ended up getting flagged because it was sensitive content that was very obviously sabotaging people's games. So that ended up pulled anyway. But so pictured is the game in question here from the article, and that is a very small coffin.
I would not want to be in there.
You'd have to be cradled up in there. I don't even think you could fit standing. Now, having said that, we have a new streaming show coming soon called Buried Alive, that is kind of a reboot of the Buried Alive we did as Microtone a couple years back. And Buried Alive puts the streaming character inside of a coffin box that we built. But even that box is enormous compared to this one. And we're not putting our customers in here. We're putting, our own staff. Because now, granted, if you get in there, you'll be screaming like the young lady downstairs. But, the confined space is going to be a major issue for anyone booking this.
Yeah.
I know, for example, like Six Flags Great Adventure does a contest yearly now. Whoever can stay in the casket the longest. I do think that's a really cool contest.
Yeah.
As a concept, but
would people pay to be
would
locked
people
in the
pay
coffin?
to be locked in the coffin? That's a different thing. Doing it as a challenge is one thing. Doing it as a fun, immersive night out is another. Now, having said that, also Kamnata Quest does I don't know if they still do, but they did a coffin experience where you were locked in a coffin and had to solve your puzzles to get out. And I do know that there was a customer experience that was a problem in that game where apparently a game master didn't notice somebody freaking out.
Oh.
So, there's challenges to doing something like this that are a little more blatant than the challenges that are, in a larger game. Now, to the element of the opposite coin here, can a large game be immersive and fun as an escape room? Of course.
That's what we do.
In my opinion, the bigger the better. We're always trying to outsize ourselves when it comes to the experience, because the bigger the world, the more to explore, the more you can immerse the players.
Yeah.
The smaller, the harder it kind of is to work in a confinement, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, the less set you have to work with and the less props and...
Now, having said that, there's obviously challenges as well to larger scale games. You have to charge more because your space is larger. You're paying more for the entire build out. You're paying more rent. You're paying more insurance. Everything's inflated the bigger you get. But on the same token, you can invite more people in. So that works too. Opposite end, more people means more people. Does everyone get along? Sometimes not. We get that, it's a small frequency. Like if you figure that Freak Show sees 1,000 person, a month in guest list, and out of that, let's just say every 5-6 months we get one person who complains about being grouped with others. That's one group of, say, 4 people out of, at that point, over 6,000 people.
Yeah.
It's not a high ratio of complaining about being grouped with others, but it still happens. So the smaller the game, the less that's an issue. However, that is a group of 2. So, you're not bringing too many people. No, 2 people are not in there at a time.
No,
from what I read. One person's on
in
the inside,
coffin.
one person's on the outside.
Still, to have like a whole game that can only fit 2 people at a time. Do we know how long it is too?
No, I don't know how long it is.
I would think that has to be expensive in order to make up for the. Only
Mike,
2
if you're
people.
watching, how long was this game? Do you know that? And I guess the last bullet point there is it just for the selfie? I started this conversation saying I don't think so. Mike said it's 30 minutes.
Okay, so still, like, for just 2 people for 30 minutes.
I don't know. We did, for Red Bank, we did an event appropriately called Red Bank Halloween, where I was put in a straitjacket and then put inside of a giant box, and then the box was chained up, and it had padlocks, and basically all the kids that were at the event collectively came together to solve their way into the box to get me out so that I could escape. And then I did straitjacket escape, which I legitimately did and learned how to do, and figured out how to, get my body out and the whole deal. It was a lot of fun. And the kids really took to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was out of that box in about, I think, just shy of 50 minutes. That was a long time to be in that box. Now, granted, that's 20 minutes longer than that situation. And it's very unique being in the box and listening to everyone outside the box trying to solve you out of it.
Do they know that you were in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, there is a unique aspect to this. Having said that, it might be kind of fun to see, like, if you had one person in a box and then 5 others or 6 others around it trying to solve you out.
Yeah.
But then someone always has to be okay with being the one in the box.
Yeah.
Unless your game master is the one in the box.
Ooh.
That'd be an interesting job. So, by the end of the game, it's great to have the you win photo, but I don't know.
I think it's a big plus, but I wouldn't know if people do it just for the selfie. Like, it's definitely a factor in it.
Sure.
I wouldn't say they do it just for
Everybody's got ego.
Yeah.
So, what's next?
Escape rooms with companies. Companies often have to get creative when it comes to boosting employee morale. When caught in a rut and stuck doing mundane tasks, how does one boost employee morale while also making it a team building project? Escape rooms are now on the rise for helping employees of various companies work together and use team building skills to reach a common goal.
Well then, that was a
This
lot.
is what we do.
Yes, we can offer quite a bit on that, but first we're going to get to a couple quick questions that were and posts that were brought in. So back on the topic of the coffin, there are puzzles inside the coffin when you're locked in, as well as whoever's in the box has to. Okay, so both parties do have work to do. There's the people on the outside solving. There's the people on the person on the inside solving. Okay, cool. Thanks for clearing that up, Mike. And then Cracked It. Hey, Brian, what's going on, buddy? How far in advance do you open a new experience? Okay, how far in advance till a new experience is open for bookings? We're doing a pop-up Christmas game that will open November 1st. Alright, so there's two trains of thought on this. Not really, because we're adapting into this other... There was a way we've been doing it, and then a way we're transitioning into starting with any new content coming up. Which is this. I try to do anything 6 weeks ahead. So you're already against the clock, Bri. Get tickets selling. But what we have found to be a little bit of an issue is if they book dates, and let's just say that you sell out November 1st, and for whatever reason, November 1st can't happen, and you don't know this until, say, day of. There's been plenty of times we've been, like, finishing touches on a game the morning of its opening. We've had games that have opened with us cleaning out parts of the game that they can't reach yet, and they're in part A while we're at part Z cleaning it out. So, it's dangerous to have times and dates already booked. But what we're doing now, for example, with Raven Guild, and when Beast Caves is on the date, has a date, is we are starting to now do just vouchers so that you have your tickets. And the reason we're doing that is because we typically will do a pre-sale rollout. And we do that as a sense of urgency. So, for example, like we did it with Freak Show. We've done it with every game. We'll do it with Beast Caves too. When Beast Caves is 6 weeks away, we will open it with a 50% ticket sale. So a $50 ticket you can get for $25 if you buy it that week. Or, that day. Whatever the 48 hours, whatever it is. And then after that sale is complete, then we'll do 40% off for X amount of time. And then we'll do 30% off for X amount of time. And what's funny is, a lot of times, only like 5% of our pre-sales will be in that 50% period. Because everyone thinks we're just going to hold it until the game opens. It's usually when we're at like 30% off that people start buying in high frequency, which we always find funny. And then they'll call up and be like, hey, can we get that 50%? And it's like, sorry, you missed it. But we do have 30% currently. So the urgency is to get the sale price, not to get a date. But those people are first to be able to book. That's what's important. They get first crack at their ability to book the game. And you could even do that per the rollout. So, like, for example, let's just say you did exactly what we did, and your Christmas game, everyone who bought their tickets at 50% off has first dibs at their time and date. And then you contact everyone who did 40%. And then you contact, so it's a rollout in the order of the people, in groupings who booked. And they get to then go in and book their time and date. That way, you're not letting anyone pick their time and date until you are 100% open. But, totally pre-sales. Now, Brian, I'd be very interested to see how the pop-up does. We holiday theme our Puzzles and Corks games. We don't really ever holiday theme a full-blown game, because if we were to build a 2,500 or 3,000 square foot pop-up, it'd be ridiculously expensive. So we're not going to build something of that size that's going to come down within 2 months or 3 months. But definitely let us know how it goes. But that's our opinion on it, Bri. I hope that helped. Okay. So back to puzzles good for morale. You're welcome, Brian. Escape room games, great for employee morale boost, center on team building, and relationships you can build with companies. So, yeah, I 100% believe that puzzle content is great for morale because we see this at all of our events. You've got so many people in a room. A sense of competition definitely happens between the tables when we host our events. And we always have one person, usually me, as like a host MC who's kind of like, keeping a chronicle of that. So it'll be like, team awesome, is in first place with, X amount of puzzles completed. And, and we kind of keep that going so that they know who's where in their games. And it does create that, like, we've got to catch up and keep the momentum. And then they'll start, kind of like throwing some shade back and forth. And it creates a really fun environment. And when things are being solved, there's not just the boost of, like, we solved it, but it's, we need to let everyone else's table know that we're catching up or we're ahead. So we're going to make a big deal out of, it's like, everybody, yeah! And yeah, it's contagious. The whole room starts feeling it. We start feeling it. I would say that the morale in our team building off-site events is tremendously better and bigger than anything even in-house. Because there's so much more, element of that contagious morale going on. And then that element of competing it all comes together, and it really does build like that big explosion of energy as people are succeeding their way through. The only time it dips is whoever's last.
Yeah, especially when they're like way behind the other teams.
We try to push the teams that have succeeded to help push the teams. I personally. The best morale boosting experience I have ever been part of was when I was competing in CrossFit. And I tried to bring that into our team building events because that was whoever finished, you felt amazing and you wanted your name on the whiteboard at wherever your position was. And there was nothing like having it first. But your role immediately goes from catch your breath, now go help the rest through it. And so nobody's ever alone at the end of the race. They're surrounded by all of the other people they were competing with a few moments ago, cheering them on and boosting them through. That's the role now. And everyone would flawlessly always do it. There was one place I went to where that didn't occur, and it was like, nope, this ain't for me. You could kind of tell that mentality, and that plays a huge part too in how we facilitate our events and try to make that happen. Now, centering on team building skills, that's all in how you're designing the games, and that as long as you're designing these games in a way that it's not just everybody take your puzzle, you need to bring the room back to get if you've got a table of 15, then sure, you could have groups of 2 or groups of 3 at that table independently working stuff, but that table needs to come together again. And as far as relationships built, proof's in the pudding on that. We have a couple companies now that we have been with multiple times, and this year we are starting our first contracts with companies where we'll be returning monthly for a few for different events. So that is gorgeous because that means that we have guaranteed corporate team building income for month X through X now as a result. So we have our first one starts in January where for we'll be visiting this company monthly. And that's guaranteed. They're paying up front for all of those months in one shot. So we know, we've got work for 8 or 9 people that are going to go out to that event every single month and perform one of our events, and it's amazing. That's cool. We're literally part of their hiring process now. So we're part of their on-ramping program for new employees. That is so cool. So we love being a part of that, and I love seeing other companies kind of dip their toes in that too. I would have to say, from what I've seen, we are definitely at the forefront of that.
Yeah.
It's just really cool to see. Like, we have our trapdoor van, which we had purchased in order to facilitate our builds, and we were using it for getting things back and forth. But now we're in the hunt for the trapdoor tour bus, because because we rented a bus to go out to Maryland for that event, and that bus wasn't even big enough. So so next is the trapdoor tour bus, because we're going to need to be able to facilitate on a much more regular basis. It's like, there was a point when we first started doing offsite events that we were doing them maybe quarterly. Now we're practically doing them weekly, and we hope to even cascade that into more and do them daily. We always say what we make a week doing trapdoor locations, we make it an hour doing trapdoor events. And now we're starting to explore even beyond the puzzle content. Like, we have the trivia night game coming up October 28th, where we're building like a game show stage for this offsite event in New York. And it's like so cool that we're getting to be part of these companies on a regular basis. And that was a particular situation where we did a huge, like, 180 player event with them last year at a banquet room at a hotel, and it was an incredible experience. Everyone had a phenomenal time, and even our staff was like, if they book again, we want to do it again. We want to be, we want to be on that night. And this year they called us up, and this isn't even for that event. That event is still happening at a later point with us. But they had said, we're doing another event. It's going to be a little smaller. It's going to be about 80 people. And we're doing it in New York. And our management had said, just hire a company in New York. Why does it have to be Trapdoor? And they were like, no, we have our relationship built with them. They guided everything for us. It's got to be Trapdoor. But this isn't puzzles. You want to do a trivia night. Hire a company that does that. No, it's Trapdoor or nothing. So, like, I was honored to get that phone call. So I was like, of course we're going to make this work and figure it out and make it happen. And we're on our way. And Christina's actually guiding the design of that experience for them. So, it's really becoming not a cornerstone anymore, but a forefront of our business model, is team building. So it's awesome. So yeah. What's next?
What is next? Dinner and a show. A restaurant in Florida is combining dinner, virtual reality, and escape rooms into a singular event.
Now,
yeah.
I'm looking at a photo here. Is this VR?
It says it combines a virtual reality and an escape room.
So it's escape room puzzles inside of a VR experience, and I guess before or after you're having dinner. I'm seeing a lot lately of stories of dinner and escape room show. And one of them was completely false headline and copy, because there was like one that's been floating around about this like restaurant theme escape room. And it's literally an escape room designed as a kitchen from a set perspective. You're not eating. There's no food.
Oh.
This is more like, like a... it just takes place inside of like a hellish, ghoulish kitchen.
Okay.
So, misleading copy. But this actually is combining, you get dinner, you get your show, whatever. We are just now with Raven Guild getting back into doing a full night out where it's dinner, drinks, and the show. The reason it has taken us since Windward Hotel, which was 2013, to do this again is the fact that if we couldn't control literally every aspect of the night, including the drinks and the food, I would not do it. Because when we did Windward Hotel, this is what the post-experience situation looked like. Windward Hotel, 1-star review. The experience and the immersive show was amazing, but the food left much to be desired. Blah, 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 blah. Food, 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 food. That happened a lot.
Yeah.
So the food and the drinks reflect on us. So if I couldn't be a part of designing the menu and making sure it was up to par, then I was not willing to ever combine these again. Because once your ticket price combines all those things, you're judging it as a whole, which you should be. So the only thing I scream out to anyone who combines these things is to make sure that the entire experience, the whole night, is a unified, immersive experience worth the ticket. For example, with Raven Guild, you'll walk in, the waiter will be waiting with a cocktail, tabletop filled with champagne glasses that have a completely, inexperienced drink. It's going to be a black drink for the Raven Guild show, and I'm not going to say what is part of it, but or what our recipes are, but it's a themed drink. And then beyond that, you'll have your menu, which we have like the Elite Guild package, and we have the Initiate food package. So everything, and we've gone through the menu with the venue. Everything is part of it. So you're not getting anything that is not trapdoor approved.
Yeah.
And you can be damn sure that I will be tasting everything before it comes out until I trust the staff. As far as even the chefs and whatnot. Because I need to know that everything is perfection at that point. Because the first time I get a bad review on Raven Guild about food is going to be a problem. So, Viva Todd Vegas, I just learned something. What'd you learn? What particularly was it? What was that new note of educational achievement? But yeah, how many times do people come into Trapdoor and either before or after they've gone for drinks and food? Why not do it as a package? It makes perfect sense for everything to come together. But having said that, if you're going to do it, just know that now you're wearing a chef's hat, because you're going to have to check all that and make sure that it's 100% what it needs to be. So, Todd, I'm still waiting. I want to know what you said about other aspects of the night reflecting on your business, that you must have input into everything. Yeah. The biggest element there is even when you can't control the food and the drinks, if you can have input, have the input. One of my favorite parts of any new location we open for Trapdoor is checking out all the local places to go eat and drink. Because more often than not, we get phone calls of, I'm about to book an event at Trapdoor. Where can we go for dinner after? Don't send them somewhere they're going to hate, because mark my words, it's going to reflect on you. So, their whole night is part of the experience. It sucks to say sometimes, but we're part of an entire night. And if something happens that puts them in a bad mood, that's not something you were able to control, but it is your problem now. So you need to be able to work around that, and anything you can do to reflect a better experience for them, or to make sure that every aspect of that night is going to be a bit better. You know what? Something that just clicked into my head while we're doing this show that we are going to implement is we are going to, in their reservation thank you note that gets sent out, we are going to put our recommended places to go eat and drink so that we have more input on their night. Boom. What's next?
Immersion. How important is it? With a massive boom in the escape room industry, keeping up with competitors can prove to be difficult. With new and amazing ideas being thought of every day, what makes any escape room stand out? And the answer to this is immersion. Entering a game and being completely enveloped to the point you mentally are in whatever situation the game is creating. Immersive gameplay is currently on the rise in China with over 350 games in Shanghai alone. What key elements do we use to make a game immersive? What makes a game immersive?
Well, 100%, and actually this goes right into Brian's comment that he just put in there of that'd be great if people read their confirmation emails. How I look at immersion is simply this. Whatever the theme of your escape experience is going to be, that theme needs to permeate everything that they have bought their ticket for. On that note, I'd even include the ticket. So, for example, to Brian's point, when Cure Z premiered, we had part of their ticket confirmation was the start of their game. And we made that known. So if you bought your ticket to Cure Z, your confirmation would include a link for you to go to Quieten Pharmaceuticals, the pharmaceutical company that's fictionally created in the game, and apply for a position there. And then you would get your, you'd fill out an application, and it was like fun in-game questions and stuff like that. And then you'd get a confirmation, and once you were in, the world would start unfolding because you would get a an orientation audio recording, and in the orientation, Dr. Brannigan would come in saying like he cracked the cure and we've done it and blah blah blah, and he'd get fired on the phone call.
Oh, the video.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So part of the experience was already beginning, and that's a way to up the now. Having said that, Brian, people still ignored it, but some didn't, and the ones who didn't would really push that envelope because then they'd be in the game and they'd already have like a leg up on some of the background noise of the game and the story, and they would share it and they would tell like the rest of the people they were playing with, and then when they would book another game, they would actually look at that confirmation email. So it's a way of really building the world, expanding the immersion, making sure that you're creating whatever that fictional experience is. It needs to permeate the outside world and be a part of their real lives. And that, an element with us comes from our start in alternate reality gaming, which, that's how we built Find Me, was, creating this concept that Dennis Morgan was abducted, and now his family's being interviewed by a private investigator who's reaching out to you for help, and there was an entire pre-game to Find Me before the show ever went live. We did similar aspects with the original Buried Alive. We did similar aspects. Windward Hotel, before that whole thing, there was an entire Emily is Missing campaign, which is the ghost of the little girl that haunted the show. So to me, that's immersion. Is it important? Damn straight it is. I think that any company that gives a synopsis of their game and that's the end of their immersion, so when they arrive, it's literally nothing else to do with it, what's the point? You know, anyone can just throw puzzles in a room. Live actors, totally a great move, if you can do it. We don't do live actors in our games if we can help it. Boogeyman does have a live actor in, but that's a very different role.
Yeah.
The reason, now, it's not to say that our games don't have characters, because all of our games have characters. We pre-film things, and we've got unique ways of building them into the sets. And if anyone's ever played with us, you know we do a lot of stuff with either recessed giant TVs or with projections. And especially over the last year or so, we've moved very dominantly into projections.
Yeah.
Because it's we're able to create much larger, expansive elements like that. And yeah, well thought out set designs is a huge piece of that. And of course, storytelling, because everything needs to connect to tell the story. And that kind of even goes back into what I was getting at before, with kind of starting the story and starting the immersion of the world well before they enter your facility, because it gives you more time to tell a story. Because right now, you got to figure, for the average escape room, you're telling a story in 60 minutes. Typically, you're going to have to construct a story that plays out in real time, which means you're really talking about writing a scene. Whereas we have 2 hours, and in our 2 hours, we're able to tell much more of a story. But having said that, you're still dealing with multiple sets. You're dealing with, putting a lot more, like, for example, in a movie, you're likely to have a scene that happens, and then your next scene takes place 2 days later.
Yeah.
You can't do that in an escape room game.
I mean, just make a really long escape room game.
Well,
First 24-hour escape room.
You can do that, or I even always had thoughts of, like, being inside of the game, and then, like, there's a little mini hallway that connects a room, and as you walk through that hallway, it's just 2 days later is painted on the wall as, like, your cut scene. But, so, like, yeah, there's ways to do stuff like that, but for the most part, you're dealing with a scenario of a story. But if you pregame, you can now tell more story. Hell, you could even, we send out thank you messages after people play the game. You could do more story after the game. Probably not going to be as adventurous, but, like, you can do more stuff. So, like, one of the things we're starting to implement with QRZ is the missing presumed infected wall, which Mike Parada and I had discussed a couple days ago. An entire wall of players who've already participated in QRZ, their headshot being in a missing presumed infected chain link fence wall, so that as people come in, they might see friends and family on the wall. Mm-hmm. And create kind of a fun social media moment or photo experience. So that's a way of post game still keeping the world alive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope we've given some people some insights into immersive gaming as it relates to escape rooms, as far as we think it does. It's been a fun episode. We had some good interaction and some great content to go over. So Mike Parada, great job putting together today's show. Mike will be putting together the content for all Trapdoor Escape stream shows going forward. Also, he will be part of the broadcast next week for the first time as we broadcast live from the Poconos. Any last minute notes of anything?
Not particularly.
Okay. Well, everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting and chatting. Be sure to like and share our videos and subscribe if you haven't for future content. We'll catch you next Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard. Laters.